Hi, I'm Crystal DeBacker. I'm the media coordinator for the City of Van Alstyne. I'm sitting here with Ryan Neal, City Council member. We're going to learn a little bit about him and continue the series with our city leaders. So, Ryan, please tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. Ryan Neal, obviously. I've been serving on City Council since 2018, but I've been in Van Alstyne since 2012.
Okay.
Came here because I met my wife, and we decided to stay here because she was already in school here, and we kind of fell in love with it ever since.
Wow. So did she grow up here? Is that why her mom was here?
No, they grew up in Paris, Texas. I grew up in Arlington, Texas, so I'm a city fella, and they're very much country, and she always jokes around with me on that and gives me kind of, gives me a hard time about it. But I was living in Prosper at the time, and she was living here, but she was working in McKinney, and we somehow met. I think God had a plan for it. And then when we got married and kind of decided where we wanted to go, we thought Van Alstyne was a great place to, and I had never even known this place existed. Like, when I drove through it, I was like, what is this? Like, where am I?
What is there beyond this
and
exit?
Even now, even today, you ask, hey, or you tell people, well, I live in Van Alstyne, you're like, where's that? And I was like, pretty much Oklahoma. I mean, that's kind of,
my husband makes the same joke. He says Canada sometimes, which.
Yeah, we're not that far, but Oklahoma is pretty close. So so we decided Van Alstyne was the place to go. Best school district between Melissa, Anna, and Van Alstyne when we were looking at it, and it had not kind of catapulted into that growth era yet. So it was affordable, didn't have a lot of money. That was,
10 years ago, very different.
Yeah, very different. And so we decided Van Alstyne was a place, and then just kind of, made it our home. And then in 2018, I got asked to run for city council or go to public office, and I said, okay, let's do it.
How else were you involved in Van Alstyne for you to be asked to be a city council member? You're obviously having some impact already.
Yeah, so that's the crazy thing. I wasn't involved at all. So my office was in Frisco, Texas. So I was working kind of corporate in a financial firm and in Frisco. And so every day I was out of the door by 6:30 and in Frisco till 5 and then home.
With all the other commuters.
Yeah, with all the other commuters, and did not have footprint with anything that had to do with city government. My wife was involved in the library, and I had been asked by somebody who was in the chamber and who owned a business downtown if I wanted to kind of catapult into being on the chamber and stuff like that. And I was just too busy trying to keep us afloat just with what we were doing at the time. So I had no experience, and I was kind of called myself I don't even know the word for it, but I was kind of an out-of-towner pretty much. Like I never was here. When we were here, we were at the house and we were doing what we did at the house. And so I really wasn't involved until, like I said, this individual came up and approached me and said, hey, Van Alstyne's changing, growth is coming, town's getting bigger, we need to move in a different direction. Would you be willing to serve? And our kids had played on the same basketball team, and that's why I guess I had made some impact on her to be able to even be asked. Talked to my wife, and my wife was like, I think you should do it, because she wanted to get more involved, and I did too. It was hard because I was just making ends meet at the time.
Well, and to your point about being at home when you were here, actually in our interview with Mayor Jim, he mentioned that as well, where Van Alstyne used to be a commuter town almost exclusively. You come home, you're at your home base, you leave to do all of the things you need to do in life. And I think that the addition of Candy Hessel actually to the city is helping change that very rapidly, actually, with all the events, inviting so many of the community out.
Absolutely.
I think it's been transformative.
That and just having things to do here, right? Like, 10 years ago, downtown was non-existent. There was really nothing to do in downtown. We didn't have a park. We didn't have even the restaurants that we have today. The library was kind of your connection to the other kids outside of just the youth sports that were going on. So it was very much a tight, like kind of one group system back then. And, if your kid was in that age, then you had that group, whatever your kids' ages were. And you did stuff outside. So when we played sports, we did it in Sherman. Or McKinney, you didn't do it here in Van Alstyne. So there really was no chance to, outside of your own neighborhood, to interact or kind of even know what was going on in the city.
I think it's so funny how we're saying so many of the similar things that we said with Mayor Jim. You're exactly right.
Yes. So that's how we kind of came about. That's how I kind of got introduced to being able to kind of make that decision to actually go to city council, and then it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. So.
I love that. And you mentioned that you were commuting to Frisco. You're no longer doing that. So what do you do outside of the city council now?
So I own my own wealth management, financial planning, and consulting practice in McKinney. Actually, we do have an office in Frisco, but my office is in downtown McKinney. So I go there every day for the most part, but I pretty much meet people anywhere and everywhere. And it just allowed me to bring my business to kind of the 75 corridor rather than having to get on 121 and go to Frisco. And like I said, I was born and raised in Arlington, so pretty much the first 6 to 7 years that I lived here, everybody I knew was pretty much Arlington in that area. So like my travel was always quite a long ways, and that's where I went. So kind of getting on council, being able to meet a bunch of people here and being able to make those connections was extremely impactful, and it was beneficial in kind of what I've always wanted, which is I don't want to go any further than McKinney. Like I want that
same.
McKinney to Van Alstyne corridor where there's so many good people in that area that I just want to stay in that area. So
exciting growth.
Yeah, and that the growth has been a testament to that, but that is kind of has maturated over time to just be a wonderful experience so far.
I love that. All right, so now that you're a city council member, obviously I'm sure you had a platform. What would you say now is your main focus in regards to what you want to accomplish?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm up for re-election in May. I'm going to run for another term. So with the charter that we came out with this past year, it's a 3-year term now. So 3 more years in city council. I've been kind of asked or been kind of, I don't know what the best way to say it is, but I've been kind of
encouraged.
Yeah, or just see what my interest is to go further in public office. What that looks like, I have no idea. Would I do that? I'm kind of just toying with that idea.
Okay.
But at the very least, this next 3-year term is kind of where I see, at the end of that to where there would be a change one way or the other. I don't know what it would look like, whether I would go, try to maybe volunteer through PNC or, stay somehow involved with the city just to continue to see its growth and kind of see it through. One of the things that I've learned in this process is things take a long time. Nothing happens overnight. And so a lot of the stuff that we're doing now and that we've been doing over the past year or 2 years has not come to fruition yet. And so I want to be able to see all that through, make sure that that vision and that growth is done, kind of how we set out to do it at the very beginning. Because we have a great council, great staff. Lane's been fantastic. Mr. Atchison is an unbelievable mayor. And so like the pieces are all there. It's just making sure that those follow through, because as you know, with new leadership or somebody coming in with their own agenda or a different view on things can change it quickly.
Yeah. And actually, I think that was really opened up at DADCO, the meeting with the city leaders. You had a very good point, which was prompted by Marianne Moon, prompting the question of, what do you guys think about your vision? Like, what do you know about each other's vision for Van Alstyne? And knowing that hadn't quite been established yet, but we are in that group that gets to kind of establish that and understand the overarching vision of the entire community. It's really exciting, and I love that was brought up.
Yeah, everybody in that room, whether it's the ISD, the P&Z, EDC, CDC, and city staff, and the city council, I know everybody in that room. And it was funny, is 5 years ago, I didn't know anybody in that room. And through just this process of being in the city and on council and being in the role that I am, I've gotten to know every single one of those people, and not just on a, pass by level, but go to lunch with them, sit down with them, meet their family. And I was very sincere when I was saying that everybody in this room, we might not know what the arching vision is and how it aligns with the city from the ISD standpoint, but I know everybody that's in the ISD wants only what's best for Van Alstyne. And everybody in that room wanted that. That was the same overall consensus, is that each individual in that room did not have a personal agenda. It was all based on what was best for Van Alstyne.
I agree. There's a strong energy in all of the boards to make sure that they do right by the city and the community members, because everyone lives here. This is our community. We want to make sure that we're directing it, and you get that impression from every single person. I completely agree.
Yeah, so that is kind of the whole, just the goal of it all.
Absolutely. So obviously a lot that's coming to Van Alstyne. You're probably one of the first to know. So that you can share publicly, of course, little asterisk there. What are you most excited about that's coming to Van Alstyne?
Well, that's a good question. So first and foremost, I'm really excited for the shell to go down and QT to start building. I think that's going to be huge. And then kind of what kickstarts right after that is TxDOT coming in and redoing 75. So making it 3 lanes, adding the turnaround close to Spence Road, redoing all the service roads, getting a turn lane on Van Alstyne Parkway. So that's all of that, so all of that is kind of the domino effect that comes after QT kind of gets the demolition done and then gets working on their project. So really excited for QT, excited about the road projects that we're doing, and just improving and enhancing the roads that we currently have here, especially
Yeah.
the ones that are kind of the main connector points or the most heavily trafficked roads. So those are really kind of the ones that I can speak to. But yeah, I think that there are some really exciting projects that are on the forefront that I think that the town will be really excited for when they
really
get
resolve
announced.
a lot of the problems that we hear about, like the most complaints in regards to infrastructure, right? Like even city leaders brought that up a lot. So
Yeah.
very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, again, time, right? They will take time.
Yeah.
And it costs so much money. Like, just kind of to give you an idea of just the cost, right? A 1 mile, 1 lane, piece of concrete road is $1 million. So to do a 2 lane, 1 mile road is $2 million. And that's not doing anything underneath it. So it's expensive.
And then you have to think about all the side roads that have to be modified because of it.
Exactly.
It's a huge
So-
overarching vision again.
Yeah, I think it was $100 million to do all the roads of Van Alstyne. So, I mean, obviously, we can't just write a check for that. So it will take time.
Yeah.
But each road, and we're doing the studies to strategically kind of prioritize each road, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm really excited about that too, because that will start to entice the right businesses to come in and help float that cost and extend or add on to those roads to make, to get all the roads done. So maybe our out of pocket cost won't be 100 million. It might be half that because we've built the right roads at the right time for the right businesses to come in and expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's something that's always interesting to me at the planning and zoning meetings is how they discuss the give and take. And of course, we have certain standards, absolutely. And when people hear about a certain standard and then something strays from that a little bit, I think that understanding the give and take of getting these incredible roads or this extra park or things like that with the city, it's interesting to see that back and forth. I love that.
Yeah, and that's our whole goal, right? Is what do the citizens want? We're citizens as well. What's the vision? And that's one of the things that the STAGCO meeting is really helping identify. It's really going to be interesting and excited for the individuals that are going to come out, the citizens that are going to come to that citizen-only meeting to be able to make their voice heard, and it'll be really interesting to see what comes out of that, because I know that there's still some clashing of the old town and the new people, and that's going to be very interesting to see how all of that plays out. But I think we've done a good job of not just kind of taking on anything and everything. We've been very selective.
Absolutely. All right, so again, knowing so much about Van Alstyne, what is something that you wish more people knew about in Van Alstyne that currently exists?
The community that's here, right? Like, I wish more people would know about, the parades that we do, overall Christmas parade, the Halloween event that we do. I wish more people would know kind of those things from a firsthand experience,
The big
come and
events.
visit it and see like, oh wow, this is a community that's together. This is a community that comes out and shows up for these things and really supports each other. So
Well, and with how all of those events have grown and gotten bigger and there's been more marketing for them, it's not even just the Van Alstyne's community that's coming out. Now
Yeah.
we've got Howe community members, Anna, down to Melissa, and even sometimes Sherman. People
Yeah.
are all coming to visit our events, which is very exciting.
and I wish more people would partake
do
in
that, yeah. Okay.
So I think that is one thing I wish people would know. Other than that, there's really, we don't have that, Bill Smith's will help downtown, that cafe. We don't really have that one kind of
Major
attraction pull for outside of Van Alstyne individuals to make their way into town. So there's, outside of the community and just how closely tight-knit we are, the ISD, how great the schools are here, you just wish more people would recognize that, appreciate that, and we would be kind of put on the map for that.
I love that. And with all of the policies that you get to vote for and what your goal is being involved in the community and the city leadership, what legacy do you hope that you'll leave in Van Alstyne when you are no longer involved? Yeah.
So I've always said my whole time of serving, and just in general, is the only thing I want to do is create impact. So I don't want to be remembered for a legacy. I just want impact in the moment and the time that I'm doing it. So I really don't care if I leave a legacy or not.
Yeah.
It's really about impact.
It's not
right?
about your name, but it's the projects that you complete while you're here, of course.
Well, yeah, just the impact that it makes on other people. If other people can feel joy or excitement or happiness through the things that we do collectively on this board, then that's good enough for me.
Perfect.
So it's not about, what comes afterwards, right? I'm going to just continue to my best ability or whatever God calls me to do to continue to make impact, then I'm going to go down that road.
Impact, that's your word. I like it. Okay, is there anything else you want to share about your role or about Van Alstyne?
No, it's just
Yeah.
excited for
Yeah.
what's coming. I think over the next 5 years, Van Alstyne is going to look different, but it's still going to feel like Van Alstyne.
Perfect. Yeah. And honestly, I feel like all of the changes that happen in the Central Social District were like kind of a smaller, and the new museum location, I think those are examples of our histories coming with us in every growth and every step we do, seeing the railroad tracks being highlighted, the railroad car being renovated. I feel like you can still see our history is a priority in everything that we do.
Absolutely. So look different, but feel the same.
Yeah, well said. Maybe that's our new slogan.
If I'm running up against anybody,
That's yours.
there you go. That's my slogan. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank
It was
you
very
very
nice to
much.
sit down
Yeah.
with you.
Great.